Stories that are untold, underreported, and all-out inspirational. Carey Pena reports.
Hey guys, I'm Carey Pena. Thank you so much for listening to Carey Pena Reports on iTunes and Stitcher, and for watching our live feeds on Facebook and YouTube. You can always find us at Inspired Media 360, and of course, you can always see all of our content and shows at inspiredmedia360.com. Today, we are talking about making your dreams come true with a rising country music star. Austin Burke is in studio. Hey, Austin.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you so much for being here, sitting alongside your biggest fan, your dad, Shawn. So, Shawn, kudos to you because you got my attention on Facebook, and that was a good story pitch. You sent me a message saying Austin is considered one of the up-and-coming new artists in Nashville and just signed with the William Morris Agency. This is truly a feel-good story of a fifth-generation local AZ boy making his mark as a country singer.
Yes.
But it didn't come easy. You
No.
guys have had some hard times. So before we get to the story of your success and what's going on with your career, I want to hear a little bit of your backstory, because you guys were doing pretty well, and then suddenly some things started turning sideways in life.
Yeah, I call it the American dream turned into the American scheme.
Mm-hmm.
And live in the American dream, 4 kids, married, big house, big yard, and I was tied into the real estate mortgage business, and as things started to go south, we decided to hunker down in San Diego, thinking that maybe I could parlay and leverage both states and continue the business, but I had no idea what the storm was ahead of us. Mm-hmm. And so it really led to a season of struggle and a season of pain, and took my kids from having everything in the world that Scottsdale provides to, literally living day to day.
What was that like?
It was a big adjustment for me. I spent a lot of time asking myself the question, why is this happening to me? And a good friend of mine one day said, Shawn, what's so special about you? And so I felt very alone for a while, but then as things started to unfold, I realized that I wasn't the only one going through this, but I was really surrounded by lots of people in the country that were struggling, but nobody was really talking about it. And as the years became 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, you seriously go into somewhat of a survival mode mentality, and you instead of dreaming and thinking about the future, you're thinking about today. And it got to the point where we hadn't made a house payment in 3 years. We were on government food stamps, government health insurance. Ever heard of the book of Job in the Bible? Mm-hmm. And I felt like Job. So everything was taken away. Mm-hmm. My money, I started having health issues. I had 2 back surgeries out of the blue. And I was really just knocked down on my back. Looking back on it, it was painful, but I can also see the purpose behind the pain. And so, and it kind of led to a lot of the reason we're here today.
And Austin, what was that like for you going through that?
It was crazy. I was mostly playing baseball, and so I luckily had some friends that I had played baseball with in San Diego that I met, and I met some cool kids. But overall, it was tough to see my dad so down and my family so down. But I really found music in that moment, in that time, and I started writing songs that meant a lot to me, and that was sort of my way to let out how I felt. So I was getting bullied at school, and it wasn't what I was used to, coming from Scottsdale to like a really ghetto school and a lot of hard times for my family. I wasn't used to that, so I picked up my guitar and I started writing music.
And what did that do for you? How did that transport you?
It just it was my outlet. It was my way to express how I felt. So I feel blessed to have my music to do that, and I still do that today. And my parents said I spent a whole year in my room just learning to play guitar and learning to write music, and I took all those things that I learned to Nashville with me, and I've just been fine-tuning them ever since.
What strikes me is when you guys walked into my studio and we were talking a little bit about your backstory, and you explained to me how you guys had fallen on hard times, you didn't strike me at all, Austin, like you were embarrassed if I asked, and I asked if it was okay that we bring this up in the interview, because it's part of your journey.
Yeah.
It really, for a 23-year-old, you're very well adjusted, and it's part of the fabric of who you are, that you had to go through that, right? You're not embarrassed by it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think too, my parents did a good job of sort of keeping it hidden. As kids, we didn't really understand how bad things were. I mean, for me personally, I was getting bullied at school, so I had my own issues. But they tried to keep the other stuff, as far as money, kind of under the table, which I'm grateful for. And now looking back, I see, how hard it really was. But I mean, the truth is, we lived by the beach, and it was just appreciating the little things in life. And it was honestly some of the best times of my life. Being in a small house with my family are some of the best memories that I have.
So now you are this rising star, and Shawn, you have to be just overjoyed to see this manifesting, this success. So let's start off with your return to Country Thunder, because you played Country Thunder when you were how old? 4?
I was 4, yeah.
Saw that cute picture that you guys emailed me. So you always loved music, but you put it aside, played baseball, and then tell me how the Nashville and the signing with William Morris, how did all that begin to line up for you?
Yeah, so I'll start when I was young. I sang the national anthem for all the sporting events in Arizona, and my dad was basically my manager. He would stand in the middle of the Phoenix Suns arena and make sure that I remembered all the words, and he'd squat down next to me, and I'd have my big cowboy hat on. He was there for me, every step of the way. And when I was 10, I remember being in the car and specifically telling him, I don't want to do music anymore. I think I wasn't able to spend the night at a friend's house because I had a news interview in the morning or something, and I told him I don't want to do music anymore. I want to play baseball. I want to be a kid. And I'm sure he was crushed by that, but he supported me, and he put everything he had into baseball. And so then when I was 18, playing in college, and told him again, I don't want to play baseball anymore, I want to go back to music, it was like, really? I'm sure it just was so hard to understand. But I've always been somebody to know what's right and know what I needed to do, and
follow your dreams and your passion.
Yeah.
What was it like having parents who supported you so much and a dad who stood by your side, even as you were navigating your path?
It's awesome. I mean, my generation definitely we're dreamers. We want our dreams to happen, and that's awesome. But my parents always allowed me to dream, and whatever it was, they always supported me in that. And when I finally told my dad I didn't want to play baseball anymore, of course he was kind of confused at first, but he definitely supported that decision.
So what brought you to Nashville? How did you get signed? And tell me about what's going on.
Yeah, so I've been in Nashville for 3.5 years now. I moved when I was 19, got a job at a restaurant, and it happened to be a really nice restaurant, so a lot of the music people came in there, and I met a bunch of executives and people that are really important music people in Nashville, and I never said anything about my music. I was just nice to them and did whatever I could to make their experience enjoyable, and behind the scenes I'm writing every day. I'm recording music and in the studio and putting in the work, but I never said anything to these people. And then finally, when it was time to make that happen, I was like, hey, I have this music. And they were like, oh my gosh, let me hear it. And so, Stormy Warren, he's the head of, he's the DJ at SiriusXM. He's like, well, let's put it on SiriusXM. So it got on SiriusXM, the highway. And then John Marks, who runs Spotify, he put it on some playlists on Spotify. And, a few months later, we've invested $150 into the song, and it has over 1 million streams.
Well, that strikes me as such a great story, because what you did was you laid a foundation that was authentic. You were creating, community rather than just trying to take advantage of every opportunity, everyone you got in front of. You were laying a foundation. And so then when you actually knew them, they listened to you and then wanted to support you.
Yeah, well, I noticed too when I got to town, I'm very observant, and I noticed a lot of the people that were there were just showing everything they had to these people, and just showing too much, showing them music that wasn't ready, or showing them a song that wasn't finished. And I knew I wasn't ready. I knew that the last 3.5 years I've been in my own school of music, and I've been taking my own college as it is, in Nashville, and I'm not ready to graduate yet. So a lot of people go there and they want it to happen right away, but I've always been in it for the long run. I've never wanted this instant because I know that that's not realistic.
So when you found out that your song, your single, Sleeping Around, got 1 million streams and things started to have, like, what was your reaction? You're like, yes.
It was funny. I got to celebrate actually last week at the very top of a building at William Morris. We're popping champagne and all excited, and it was a very like high to low moment because as soon as I was finished with celebrating that song, I went and put on my apron and started cracking lobsters at the restaurant that I worked at. So it was a very high to low moment.
But if you always keep that humility, no matter how famous you get, that will serve you well. Yeah. Who's your favorite country star? We have a great picture of you with Garth Brooks.
Yeah, Garth Brooks.
Can't go wrong with him. Definitely. He seems like such a nice guy.
He is. And I met him for the first time at a Padres game. He was playing baseball here in Phoenix, actually. And I met him for the first time. And then about a year ago, I saw him in the restaurant I work at. And I heard that he was there. I went and printed off the picture of us when I was 4. And I delivered him his Caesar salad and put the picture right by it. And he stood up in front of everybody and was like, Peoria, Arizona, 1998.
Are you serious?
I swear.
That's
he's like the Rain Man.
Yeah. Austin was there to sing the national anthem. 2 things I'm impressed with. Number one, how much he took to Austin in that moment. And I have a video of him hunkering down next to him. And then secondly, he stayed the entire time till the lights were turned out signing autographs. He stayed there until every person had an autograph. And I thought that was super impressive.
Yeah.
The other fun story is that Trish Yearwood was getting inducted into the Hall of Fame of some kind that night. And he yelled across the table, "Hey, Miss Yearwood, come over here. I want to introduce you to somebody." And took his own cell phone out and had Trisha take a picture with Austin.
How
and
cool
Garth.
is that?
Just very nice guy.
And I love what you responded. I sent you some pre-interview questions, and I just want to share this one with the audience. So I say, what would you most like people to know about you? And you said, I want people to know that I love God, love my family, and love music in that order. I'm just a normal guy with a dream, and if I can do it, other people can too. It's really striking. What do you want people to know? Because there are so many kids out there who are now following along with you, and adults, frankly, who everyone's trying to figure out how to live your best, like a life that's full of joy. And that might not mean you're a millionaire, but how do you find joy in what you're doing? What message do you want to send?
Well, I feel like I feel so blessed to have these tools that God's given me, and the truth is everybody has tools. Not everybody knows how to use those tools, but everybody has tools. And once you figure out how to use those tools, it's like your life makes sense. And everybody wants to do, everybody wants to be, this big singer or this big, actor, or they want to do these things that they see and feel like are important. But the truth is, the second that you listen to what you're really supposed to do, that's the second that life makes sense. And I've never forced music. I've never, tried to make things happen that weren't supposed to happen. It's happened because it's supposed to happen. And whether, I'm the next Garth Brooks or I'm just, going city to city playing music at, local bars, I'm waking up every day and loving what I do. And that's, to me, I'm successful because of that.
How do you feel when you hear what he's saying? I mean,
I'm having a little bit of, I'm getting emotional because one of the, what I thought was the lowest Christmases in our lives was the best Christmas in our life. And I did exactly what he said. I wrote each of my children a letter for Christmas. That's all I had to give them was a letter. And I individualized it to them and to their personality for them. So I wrote 4 letters that year, and that's all that was under the tree. And in that moment, I said to them, you guys, we're going to embrace the struggle. You have to know as your dad, I'm doing everything I can to provide. For whatever reason, God is not allowing me to make any money right now. And I know that sounds like a failure or maybe an excuse, but the reality was I had tried everything. I mean, there wasn't Uber and Lyft. I couldn't just go out and create money. I had to go interview and take jobs I didn't want. And just like Tim said when he talked about driving for UPS, I did whatever I could in that moment, but it wasn't producing enough money to really live. And so the letter was a symbol to me, to my kids, to say, listen, I don't know where this is going, but the most important thing in life is that we're still a family. We're still together. We're still alive. And so I'm going to embrace this moment where we're at. So when he says that, it strikes me that that may have come from years and years ago, 4 or 5, 6 years ago, whenever, more like 8 years ago, when I was at the lowest point in my life, when I finally embraced my situation. Instead of trying to get out of my situation, I said, this is where God wants me right now. I'm just going to live in this moment. And over time, I started to come out of that, started to get out of that moment. But if I spent all my time not embracing that moment, I was missing out on life in that moment. And so the letter represented love and acceptance of where I was at that time. And so when he says that, it strikes a chord with me, because I'm like, wow, that's amazing how that transferred to him.
All of it full circle.
Yes.
And now you're back at Country Thunder. You're in Arizona just for a few days to play back on that stage where you first appeared when you were 4 years old with that big old bucket cowboy hat. I love it. Where can people follow along with you?
So I have Instagram, Twitter.
What's your handles?
Facebook. So Instagram is Austin Burke Music. Twitter is Austin P, which is my middle initial, Burke. And my Facebook is just Austin Burke Music. And my EP is coming out. I just got the date. It's May 19th.
Congratulations.
So I'm really excited.
So happy for your success, but I'm just incredibly impressed by the person that you are.
Thank you.
And to me, no matter how big of an artist you ever become, the fact is you're a nice person, and that means a lot.
Much.
Guys, thank you so much for coming in. Have a great time at Country Thunder. That kind of goes without saying. Thanks for watching, everyone. We appreciate having you here with us on Carey Pena Reports. You can always catch us, of course, on Facebook and YouTube at Inspired Media 360. Today's show produced and engineered by Shannon Hernandez, brought to you by Inspired Media 360. Until next time, stay inspired.